My parents told me I wasn't brand friendly and gave my sister everything, so I bought their debt, took their house, and waited for Thanksgiving to ruin them. Honey, grab a glass. No, grab the whole bottle because the level of petty I ascended to isn't just a mood, it's a lifestyle. You know those stories where the quiet, overlooked sibling finally snaps? Well, I didn't just snap. I meticulously dismantled their entire kingdom brick by brick, and I did it while wearing a smile that would make a shark look friendly. Let me tell you how we got here, because the audacity is honestly impressive. My name is Morgan. I'm 32, and for my entire existence, I have been the practice child. You know the type? The one the parents make all their mistakes on before they get it right with the second one. That second one is my sister, Tiffany. Tiffany is 29, gorgeous, charming, and completely useless. From the moment she was born, she was the main character. I was just the background extra who was expected to clean up the set after the scene was over. The difference in how we were raised wasn't even subtle, it was violent. When Tiffany turned 16, my parents threw her a super sweet 16 bash that cost more than my college tuition. They rented out a hotel ballroom, hired a DJ, and parked a brand new white BMW convertible in the driveway with a bow the size of a toddler. My mother literally cried, clutching her pearls, saying, "She's just so special. Look at her shine." 2 years prior, for my 16th birthday, I got a cake from the grocery store, one of those ones that was clearly on discount because the icing was sliding off, and a card. Inside the card was a handwritten note from my dad that said, "Happy birthday. You're old enough to get a job now. Application for the diner is on the counter." They called it teaching me grit. They called Tiffany's upbringing nurturing her spirit. I swallowed it. I always swallowed it. I worked double shifts at that diner while Tiffany went to fashion school in Milan, which she dropped out of because the vibes were off. I paid for my own community college classes while my parents paid for Tiffany's lifestyle brand launch, which consisted of her selling repackaged AliExpress jewelry for a 500% markup. Spoiler alert, the business failed in 3 months, and my parents just laughed it off. "Oh, she's a visionary, Morgan. Visionaries need time to find their footing." Meanwhile, when I asked to borrow $500 to get my certification in interior design and staging, my dad looked at me over his newspaper and scoffed. "Morgan, we're not a bank. If you want something, you earn it. We're doing you a favor by not handing it to you. It builds character." Character. That was their favorite word for me. Tiffany got cash. I got character. So I leaned into it. I worked like a dog. I started staging houses for real estate agents, dragging furniture up 3 flights of stairs by myself because I couldn't afford movers. I ate ramen. I lived in a studio apartment the size of a closet. And slowly, painfully, I built a legitimate business. Morgan's Modern Staging. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. By the time I was 30, I was doing well, not billionaire well, but debt-free and driving a car that doesn't scream well. My parents didn't care. To them, I was just the help. At family gatherings, they'd introduce Tiffany as the entrepreneur. She was currently unemployed, and me as, well, they usually just said, "And this is Morgan, she moves furniture." The resentment didn't happen all at once. It was a slow drip. It was every Christmas where Tiffany got designer bags and I got a frantic request to come over early and cook the dinner. It was every time my mother critiqued my outfit while praising Tiffany's sweatpants. But the breaking point, that happened about 18 months ago. My dad's company, a boutique commercial real estate firm, started taking hits. He was old school, refused to modernize, and the market was eating him alive. He called me up one Tuesday, voice dripping with that fake sweetness he uses when he wants something. "Morgan, honey, listen. We're in a bit of a tight spot with liquidity. One of the warehouse properties is just sitting there. I need to offload it fast, cash deal. No agents, no fees. Do you know anyone in your little network who buys fixer-uppers?" My little network. I knew the building. It was a dump, but the location was prime. He was asking for $200,000 less than it was worth because he was desperate. I paused. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I might know a silent investor, I said. Let me make a call. I didn't call anyone. I called my lawyer. I set up an LLC with a boring generic name, Blue Spruce Holdings, and I bought that building. My father never asked who was behind Blue Spruce. He just saw the wire transfer and signed the papers, probably relieved he could fund Tiffany's next vacation. That was the first domino. Over the next year, he kept bleeding money. And every time he needed a quick injection of cash to keep up appearances because God forbid the neighbors know the Royals were broke, he sold off an asset, a rental unit here, a commercial strip there, and every single time Blue Spruce Holdings was there to buy it at a discount. I wasn't just buying buildings, I was buying my own abuse. I was buying the leverage I needed to finally make them see me. But the universe, honey, it has a wicked sense of humor. Because while I was secretly becoming their landlord, they were treating me worse than ever. Wait, if you're already shook by the level of secrecy, hit that like button because I haven't even gotten to the dinner from hell yet. Fast forward to this past November, Thanksgiving, the Super Bowl of family trauma. I hadn't planned to reveal anything yet. I was going to wait until I owned 51% of the main firm. But then the announcement happened. I walked into my parents' house, which, by the way, was legally mortgaged to the hilt, and Tiffany was glowing. She was wearing a dress that cost more than my first car, holding a glass of champagne. "Morgan, finally!" My mom chirped, not getting up from the couch. "Go check the oven. The turkey is drying out." No hello, just labor. I went to the kitchen, checked the bird, and poured myself a drink, a stiff one. When we sat down to eat, Tiffany tapped her glass with a fork. "Okay, big news time," she squealed. "Daddy and Mom agreed. Since I have such a natural eye for luxury, they're going to make me the creative director of the real estate firm and—" She paused for dramatic effect. "They're giving me the deed to the lake house as a signing bonus. I'm going to turn it into a retreat center for influencers." The air left my lungs. The lake house. That was the one place I actually loved. It was the only place where I had good memories as a kid, hiding in the boat shed away from their criticism. I looked at my dad. "You're giving her the lake house, Dad? You told me last year you were selling it to pay off the business loans." He didn't even look at me. He was beaming at Tiffany. "Plans change, Morgan. Tiffany has vision. We need fresh energy. Besides, you have your little furniture moving business. You're fine." Tiffany smirked at me, a nasty, pitying little smirk. "Don't be jealous, Morgan. Not everyone is built for leadership. Someone has to do the heavy lifting, right?" She laughed. My mom laughed. My dad chuckled. And something inside me died, but in the best way possible. The part of me that still wanted their love, dead. The part of me that wanted their respect, cremated. I set my fork down. The clatter rang out in the dining room. "You can't give her the lake house, Dad," I said, my voice deeply, terrifyingly calm. My dad frowned, his face turning that shade of purple he gets when he's challenged. "Excuse me? I can do whatever the hell I want with my property. Who are you to tell me—" "I'm Blue Spruce Holdings," I interrupted. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. You could hear the ice melting in the glasses. Tiffany blinked. What? What is she talking about?" My dad froze. His fork hovered halfway to his mouth. "What did you say?" I reached into my purse, my sensible, affordable purse, and pulled out a thick envelope. I tossed it onto the center of the table, right next to the gravy boat. "Blue Spruce Holdings, the company that's been buying your distressed assets for the last 18 months, the warehouse, the rental units on 5th, and yes, the lake house. You sold it to me 3 months ago to cover your payroll tax debt, remember? You signed the deed. You can't give it to Tiffany because you don't own it. I do." My mother looked like she was having a stroke. "Morgan, is this a joke?" This isn't funny. Open it, I said, taking a sip of my wine. My dad ripped the envelope open. His hands were shaking so bad the papers rattled. He scanned the documents. I saw the color drain from his face until he looked like a sheet of paper. You, he whispered, you tricked me. I paid fair market value, I countered. Actually, I paid slightly under because you were desperate, but I didn't trick you. You just never bothered to check who the registered agent was because you assume I'm too stupid to pull off a deal like this. Tiffany stood up, slamming her hands on the table. You stole my house. Daddy, do something. She can't do that. It's not your house, Tiffany, I said, looking her dead in the eye. And while we're at it, Dad, I own the mortgage note on this house, too. The bank sold it in a bundle last week. Blue Spruce bought that, too. My mother let out a strangled gasp. You own this house? Technically, yes. So if you want to stay here, we're going to need to discuss rent. And Tiffany, if you want to run an influencer retreat, I charge premium rates for commercial sublets. The explosion was immediate. My dad started screaming about betrayal, about how I was a snake, a parasite. My mom was sobbing about how I was tearing the family apart. Tiffany threw a wine glass at the wall. I just sat there finishing my turkey. It was dry, by the way. I left 10 minutes later. I told them to expect an email from my property manager on Monday. I drove home blasting rap music, feeling like I was floating. And you knew there was a but coming. I underestimated how dirty they would play. See, narcissists don't accept defeat. They rewrite reality. 3 days later, I'm at my office, my actual office for my staging business. My assistant, Sarah, walks in and she looks pale. Morgan, she says, the bank is on line 1 and there are 2 police officers in the lobby asking for you. My stomach dropped through the floor. I went out to the lobby. 2 officers. They looked serious. They asked me to step outside. Ma'am, we've received a complaint regarding significant financial fraud and elder abuse involving your parents' estate. My parents had filed a police report. They claimed I had coerced my father into signing those documents. They claimed I had forged signatures. They claimed I had hacked into their company accounts and embezzled the money I used to buy the properties. And because Tiffany dates a guy whose dad is a big shot district attorney, they got the ball rolling fast. My accounts were frozen. My business accounts were frozen. Blue Spruce Holdings was flagged for investigation. I called my dad. He answered on the first ring. How does it feel, Morgan? He hissed. You think you can outsmart me? I built this town. You're a fraud. And when we're done with you, you'll be lucky if you can get a job scrubbing toilets. You know I bought those legally, I said, my voice shaking. I have the wire transfers. I have the emails. And we have a witness who says you accessed my computer and manipulated the banking data, he said. Tiffany saw you do it, of course. Tiffany, the witness. I wasn't even there, I screamed. Doesn't matter, he said. Perception is reality, Morgan. You taught me that with your little staging business. We're just staging the truth now. He hung up. Make sure you're subscribed because the update I'm about to drop is going to make you scream. For 2 weeks, I was in hell. My vendors dropped me because of the rumors. My clients canceled contracts. I couldn't access my money to pay my lawyer. I was sitting in my apartment, eating stale crackers, watching my reputation burn to the ground. I fell into a dark place. I thought about giving up. I thought maybe they win. They always win. But then I remembered something. Tiffany isn't just malicious. She's lazy. My dad claimed I manipulated the banking data from his computer. He claimed I forged the digital signatures. I called my friend Leo. Leo works in cybersecurity. I told him I needed him to do a forensic audit of the emails my dad sent me during the negotiations for the properties. If they tampered with anything to frame me, Leo said, they would have left a digital footprint, especially if they tried to backdate anything. It took Leo 3 days. He called me on a Friday night. Morgan, he said, laughing, your sister is an idiot. Tell me, I breathed. Okay, So they submitted evidence logs to the police, right? Showing you logged in at certain times. Well, the IP address they used to create those fake log, it doesn't match your apartment. It doesn't match your office. Where does it match? It matches the Wi-Fi at the resort and spa in Cabo, specifically on the dates when Tiffany was posting Instagram stories from, you guessed it, the resort and spa in Cabo. She had forged the hacking evidence while she was on vacation using the hotel Wi-Fi. But wait, it gets better. Leo dug deeper into the company server, which I legally had access to because I owned the debt. He found the internal chat logs between my dad and Tiffany. Dad, we need to make sure the timestamp looks like Morgan did it. Tiffany, ugh, I'm trying, Daddy. The Wi-Fi here sucks. I'm just going to copy paste the old login ID. No one checks that nerd stuff anyway. No one checks that nerd stuff. I took everything to my lawyer. We didn't go to the police immediately. Oh no, that's too easy. I scheduled a meeting. I told them I was ready to surrender. I told them I would sign everything back over if they just dropped the charges. They agreed to meet at their office. The power room. I walked in. My dad was sitting at the head of the table, looking like a king. Tiffany was scrolling on her phone. My mom was looking out the window, playing the victim. Smart choice, Morgan, my dad said. I have the transfer papers right here. You signed the properties back to us for $1, and we dropped the fraud case. Just sign it and leave, Morgan, Tiffany sighed. I have a spa appointment at 3. I sat down. I opened my folder. I'm not signing those, I said softly. Then go to jail, my dad spat. I'm not going to jail, I said. But you might. I slid the report across the table. This is a forensic analysis of the evidence you submitted to the police. It proves without a shadow of a doubt that the logs were fabricated by Tiffany while she was in Mexico. And these, I slid the chat logs over. These are your conversations conspiring to frame me, which is a felony. Filing a false police report, felony. Perjury, felony. Tiffany stopped scrolling. She looked at the paper, then at me. This is, you hacked me. I audited the company I own, I corrected, and I found out that not only did you frame me, but Tiffany has been using the company credit card to fund her lifestyle to the tune of $150,000 this year alone. That's tax fraud, Dad. Did you know she was marking her Prada bags as office supplies? My dad looked at the chat logs. His hands started to shake again. The king was crumbling. What do you want? He croaked. I want everything, I said. What? I want the rest of the company. I want the house. I want a public apology issued to my clients clearing my name. And I want Tiffany off the payroll, effective immediately. If you do that, I won't turn this over to the DA. You can retire quietly. You can tell people you downsized to focus on your health. You can't leave us with nothing, my mom wailed. I'm not leaving you with nothing, I said. I'm leaving you with character. You told me it's more valuable than money, right? They signed. They signed it all over. My dad cried, not tears of remorse, but tears of a man who realized he just lost to the practice child. Tiffany screamed at me, called me a witch, and stormed out. The fallout, it's been 6 months. My parents retired. They sold the big house. Well, I sold it because I owned it, and I gave them a small cut of the equity to buy a condo in Florida. A small condo, 1 bathroom, Tiffany. Oh, Tiffany. She tried to pivot to being a victim of corporate greed on TikTok, but without Daddy's credit card, she couldn't keep up the lifestyle. She's currently living in that condo with my parents. I heard through the grapevine she's working as a hostess at a chain restaurant. As for me, I merged my staging business with the real estate firm. I rebranded. We're killing it. And the lake house, I didn't keep it. I sold it to a nice family who actually plays with their kids. I used the profit to buy myself a new place, a penthouse. And let me tell you, the view is spectacular. Update 1, 2 weeks later. So I thought it was over, but Tiffany just had to try one last thing. She tried to sue me for emotional distress, claiming I stole her inheritance. The judge literally laughed. Not a chuckle, a full belly laugh. He threw the case out and ordered her to pay my legal fees. Since she has no money, my parents had to pay it out of their retirement fund. My dad sent me a text saying, "Are you happy?" I replied with a screenshot of my bank balance. Petty, yes. Worth it? Absolutely. Update 2, legal action. Okay, so the tax fraud thing I mentioned, I didn't report it, but the IRS audits people when ownership changes hands rapidly. They flag the office supplies Prada bags. My dad is currently facing a massive audit and fines that will likely wipe out whatever savings he had left. He called me begging for a loan. I sent him a link to a job application for the diner I used to work at. Final update, I ran into my mom at the grocery store yesterday. She looked tired. She tried to hug me. She said, "We miss you, Morgan. Family is everything." I stepped back and said, "Family is people who don't frame you for felonies because they're jealous." I walked away and bought myself the biggest, most expensive cake in the bakery, and I ate it in my car. It tasted like victory. So tell me in the comments, was I too harsh sending my dad the diner application, or did he finally get the character building lesson he deserved?